Welcome to Explained Under 5 Minutes, the podcast where we break down big historical events in just 5 minutes. Today's story takes us back to the aftermath of one of the darkest chapters in human history, World War II. Specifically, we're diving into the Nuremberg Trials, the landmark legal proceedings that tried some of the most notorious figures of the Nazi regime. Grab a seat because this story is about justice, accountability, and a moment that shaped international law forever. Picture this. It's late 1945, just months after the guns fell silent in Europe. The world is trying to make sense of the devastation. Cities lie in ruins, millions of lives lost. But amid the rubble, there's a burning question. How do you bring to justice those responsible for the horrors of the Holocaust and global war? Enter Nuremberg, a city in Germany chosen as the stage for something unprecedented. Why Nuremberg? Well, it was a symbolic choice. The city had hosted huge Nazi rallies, so holding the trials there was both practical and symbolic, reclaiming a place tainted by propaganda and turning it into a courtroom of justice. The Nuremberg Trials began in November 1945. The Allies, the United States, the Soviet Union, Great Britain, and France, came together to prosecute 24 top Nazi leaders. The charges were groundbreaking: crimes against peace, war crimes, and crimes against humanity. Now, it wasn't just about punishing defeated enemies. This was a historic legal moment. For the first time, the world tried to hold individuals, not countries, personally accountable for their actions in war. One of the key figures in these trials was Robert Jackson, the chief U.S. prosecutor. Imagine him preparing for a courtroom drama that would be broadcast worldwide, a trial that would set the tone for justice in the modern age. The defendants were some of the most powerful men in Nazi Germany. Hermann Goering, Hitler's right-hand man and head of the Luftwaffe; Rudolf Hess, Hitler's former deputy; Joachim von Ribbentrop, the foreign minister; Albert Speer, the architect and armaments minister. Some of these men sat in the courtroom, defiant and arrogant. Others tried to hide behind bureaucracy, claiming they were just following orders. It was a shocking confrontation between evil rationalized and the demand for justice. What made the trials unique was their use of evidence. The prosecution presented mountains of documentation, records, speeches, and chillingly detailed reports of concentration camps and mass murder. Survivor testimonies brought the horror into sharp focus. The defense argued, but the weight of evidence was overwhelming. One of the most memorable moments was when the prosecution played footage from the liberation of the concentration camps. The images were raw, undeniable proof of atrocities. It was impossible to deny what had happened. But the trials weren't perfect. They raised tough questions. Was it fair to try only the defeated leaders and not those from the Allied side? Was it victor's justice? Could the defendants be held accountable for laws that were still being defined? Despite the debates, the Nuremberg trials set a powerful precedent. They established the principles that individuals are responsible for war crimes, that following orders is not a defense for crimes against humanity, and that genocide and mass murder would not go unpunished. In October 1946, after months of testimony, arguments, and deliberation, the court delivered its verdicts. Of the 24 indicted, 12 were sentenced to death by hanging, including Goering, who committed suicide the night before his execution. 3 were acquitted, while the rest received prison sentences of varying lengths. But beyond the sentences, the legacy of Nuremberg is what truly endures. The trials inspired the creation of international laws and institutions. The Geneva Conventions were strengthened, and decades later, the International Criminal Court would take shape. So why does the Nuremberg trial story still matter today? Because it reminds us that justice can be sought even in the darkest times, that accountability matters no matter how powerful the accused, that laws can evolve to protect human dignity on a global scale. Nuremberg was more than a courtroom. It was a beacon. It shone a light on the atrocities of the past to warn future generations. Thank you for listening to Explained Under 5 Minutes. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share it with friends. Next time, we'll unpack another pivotal moment in history, all in just 5 minutes. Until then, keep asking questions and keep learning.